Welcome to Pagan Crafting. Today we're going to be making a Triple Goddess Crescent Moon wreath. I'm excited to show you this piece. This is one of my favorite pieces in my house right now. Most of the items here I source at the local dollar store or in my local forest. The crystals I did source out, but everything else here is super inexpensive and very, very easy to make. Stay tuned with Pagan Crafting and let's have some fun. Alright, so the supplies that we're going to need today are some clear quartz crystals, some rope twine, some packaging twine, some twig wreaths. I was going to use some wood chips but decided not to use the wood cookies. We're going to use some moss, some clear quartz crystal, amethyst, dyed crystal, some wire, and we're going to need hot glue gun and hot glue around with pliers and wire cutters. And now as we lay out the three pieces here, I kind of size up which one I want to be my centerpiece. After deciding that, I look at the two pieces on the side. I'm going to take my copper wire just to hide the wire over top because it matches the color of the wood. I'm going to grab about 12 inches long, about a foot long. You can grab a little bit more if needed because you can always cut off the excess. And you're going to grab 4 pieces of that. And grab them all about the same length. Doesn't need to be exact. So now you're going to look through it to see where there's a connection. We're going to make a moon here. We're going to cut out a portion of the wood piece. I found a very strong point, so I'm going to start off with that, winding it very tight. So when I cut the wood pieces off, I don't want it to be falling out. So super duper tighter than it is right now. And the wire is going to help secure the twigs into place, the stems into place. Now you kind of want to find weak points where there's a bunch of them that are together when you're choosing a place. I'm just tucking in the wire here so it's not going to stick out and scratch my wall because it's going to be a wall hanging piece. Now I'm looking for my second point, and again I'm looking at how far I need it apart. It's going to be, my opening is going to be about 4 inches apart. It's going to be about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches for it's going to be sticking out. So that's 3 inches plus 4, 7. So about 7 inches apart, we're going to wrap this. When we cut it, remember you want about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches sticking out. Again, just twist off the excess, tuck that in, nip it off, and make sure you fold it down so you either A, don't poke yourself or it doesn't scratch your wall, and do this again to the second piece. Now that both pieces are done to the magic of YouTube land, really like the copper against it. Now we're going to cut these. Now you think scissors would be super awesome, but they're actually not. Use some wire cutters, my friend. That is what I do. And also cut on an angle, because remember we want the moon shape. So I'm bringing it in here. Again, keeping the angle shape. Super easy to cut, especially when you have these wire cutters. Now you can see where I chose a weak point. At one cut, it all just fell apart, but thankfully I had the wire wrap. Now it kind of stubbed a little bit at the top, so I'm going to do a little bit of trimming later and point that out a bit more, because it just happened to be where they fell. We're going to rock that. But we can just trim the edges off, just manicure it a little bit, give a little bit of trim. And our first piece is done. Yay, our first crescent is done. All right, moving on to the second one, repeat, and look at that. I think I got to pull back the camera a little bit here, but it looks really, really, really fabulous. The goddess symbol, the triple goddess moon symbol is already taking shape. It looks cool. So first I'm going to glue it together, and I used a little bit of glue thinking it would be enough. I was quite wrong. I thought that little bit of dab would do ya, and I realized after I was getting ready to put on the rope, but even when I was drawing, I was like, it was still moving around too much. I cut the rope in half, thinking I was going to use one half for one side, one half for the other side, but I wound up only using half and half. So I could have cut that in again and half again. Look, it was still moving. Oh, so I flipped it over on the back end, because I don't care what you see on the other side. And I started globbing a little bit more gluey and reinforce that. So I had to actually let it dry. I had to walk away from this. I had, you know, it doesn't matter about this much glue that you see here. It's the back side, and we're going to cover it up with rope. All right. So a little bit of dab in the front, a little bit of dab to secure. I'm only going to glue in the back and keep it loose in the front. Wrapping it all the way around to the back and the front. And again, only going to be applying the glue to the back. And again, we're not going to see this as against the wall, even if I didn't do this rope. I just thought the rope would make it look super sweet. I thought it would just be a pretty accent. No reason. And keeping it tight and secure with each turn. Give it a little extra tight and hold it tight as the glue is drying. Or cooling down in this case. And I did 4 wraps around each side. Now I cut the rope off on an angle with my scissors, and later on I did put glue on the tips of both ends, so just it would prevent any fraying or coming apart. And of course repeating on the other side. Looks sharp already. You could even hang it just like this. That would look super cool too. All right, we're backed up the camera here. I got my moss out. I'm excited. Now the moss on the right hand side, this grayish looking, I don't know, it's kind of a lichen moss. I got that from the dollar store. I have so much moss from the dollar store and I couldn't find any to do this project. So I'm going to load it up with this stuff first, kind of the lighter color, and I'm going to build up the green moss that I found outside on top of that. Just a little bit, just a little space saver. Hot glue is your friend here. Use a lot of it because we're going to do lots of layers, so you're going to be able to hide the hot glue. Lots and lots of layers. We're going to supersonic speed this up. We're going to move really fast here. Let's see how fast I can go here. Yeah. Anyway, just glue. Hot glue is your friend. And I love this kind of a lichen moss. It is so pretty. Beiges and browns. A lot of beiges and browns in my house, so I think this will look super sharp. You can tell I definitely did not forge this stuff. It was a plastic baggie it's coming out of. I try to forage a lot of my goodies, moss is a little bit harder. It can have little critters and bugs and stuff. Trim off any excess here that's sticking out. I like to keep a little roundness here, so at any time you want to use your scissors and trim off any pieces that are sticking out, feel free. It just makes it look sharper, shows that you care, a little extra love. Oh, now I'm out of the green. I actually wanted so much green on this one. I really, really, really wanted a lot. But this is all that I could find, and I didn't feel like driving all the way to the dollar store to go get more green or find more green like this, which I've had. I've lost a bag in my house somewhere. It's ridiculous how much moss I have, and I keep going buying more and more and more, and then I keep finding it. It's like socks. It just keeps disappearing. Wow, this is sure taking shape. I'm so excited. Well, the moss is already on there, and I got my crystals all set out. Since I'm a little bit OCD and I only had so many crystals, I wound up color coordinating the crystals, matching each side. Each side will have about the same shape, size, and color. Starting off with the right hand side first, I'm just throwing a generous amount of hot glue in there, giving a little shake and a wiggle to get it to stay in there. And it stays between the twigs and the moss so quick and so easily. It's so nicely. But give them a little shake every time I put them in there. It helps it out. Again, generous amount. And I don't have them all going straight up and down because crystals don't grow that way. So it's like we want to have it kind of like growing out of the moss. So give them some different angles and shapes, and they don't have to be all perfectly in a row too. You can have some in front of it, some in behind as well. You can be creative. It doesn't have to be exact like this. Now these are going in super quick and super easy. Now the crystals, the larger crystals I did source out from Amazon, some from eBay, some from my local crystal store. The amethysts themselves, the rectangular pieces, I got them from Michael's craft store. They're actually to make necklaces with. There's actually holes in the bottom, so I put the bottom down where the holes were to string the necklace. So if the light shines through, you won't see that. And again, just rocking in some layers with the crystals. I'm really liking how this is turning out. Again, generous amounts of glue. And I give it a little bit of a squeeze. I think I was going too fast. The glue wasn't heating up quite enough. I did do a generous amount of glue in behind too to help it give a little extra reinforcement. Those crystals are not light. I put some heavy crystals in this one. I'm super stoked. And some of the smaller crystals I used too were remnants from making some jewelry as well. I do a lot of wire wrapping, and these are a lot of the gems that I've used for wire wrapping, so I thought this would look really cool in this piece. I have 3 of these little pieces left over from a necklace that I designed. I thought it would be really pretty with this one. Only had 3 of them left, but I think it was just the pop that it needed. Give a little extra glue. Now I'm gonna grab crystals and hang them from above. Gonna grab, I'd say about 5 to 6 inch long, no, not even, 5 inch long wire. And I have 3 for the centerpiece and 1 each for each side of the crescent moons. I just string them in and give them a twist. Absolutely nothing fancy. Holding it aligned with your finger, it actually creates a nice twist on it, and I cut off the excess. Grab my pliers and I just make a loop. Super, super easy, nothing absolutely fancy. And I want to keep the loop a little bit larger because I'm going to be stringing in some ribbon into it later. Again, nothing fancy, just give it a twist. Oops, I put too much twist. Just rewinding a little bit there. Alright, and just a loop again, super easy, just clamping it in, centering it, and it's done. Again, I got these at Michael's craft store. You can get them on Amazon, eBay, any jewelry that it's for string jewelry. They all have the holes already drilled out for you, so you don't have to wire wrap them all. Now I have some black, very fine, about 1/8 of an inch ribbon. You could also use a chain if you'd like. You could also use some of the hemp twine I have out there. I thought I was going to use that, but never did. Same as the wood chips. I thought I was going to use those too. I was going to hang them from the top and never did. And I measured these about to be 2 inches hanging from the inside of the crescent moon to the bottom, to the top of the crystal, about 2 inches. You can hang it down, because I would like my centerpiece to hang down a little bit longer. Trimming off the excess, I don't want those to be seen, and I'm using glue to hold it in place so it doesn't slide off. Doing that for all items. Now my last piece here is, it's like a packaging twine. I found it in the hardware section, believe it or not, at the dollar store. I use it for all my crafts. This stuff's amazing. But I think it's for packaging packages for the mail. I don't know. Whatever you want to use it for. I think it's good for gardening too, mapping off your seeds and whatnot where they are. Just an all-purpose little rope, and I think it's so fantastic for what I use it for. And again, after I tie it off, I just snip off the excess piece. So you don't need to see that. I didn't secure that glue in there, but everything is ready to go. Oh, I'm so happy with it. It turned out better than I expected. I think when I do get more green moss, I may add a little bit more. I'll update it later. So you can see a little bit of the glue there. So I'm gonna hide that when I grab some more moss. But all in all, I'm super happy with this. I'm loving the amethyst centerpiece here. And I love the little splash of the blue quartz crystal coming at you. Well, thank you so very much for hanging out with me today and making this with me. I hope you make one as well. Give me a little follow, a like up, and a shout down. And have yourself a fantastic day.